If you like to catch fish on top water, rumor has it that the frogs and the walk the dog style of lures are working in the morning in your favorite lakes and bays. So grab a spot on the couch, something cold to drink, because it's time for the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Hello and welcome back to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, with the latest and greatest when it comes to fishing all over the state. And Rick, June is really starting us off in the right direction.
You're absolutely right, Brie. And you know, one of the things that I'm really encouraged about looking at all the captain's report is this early morning bites, both in saltwater and freshwater. We're going to talk a little bit more about that.
Topwater bites, my absolute fave. It's the
Absolutely.
best. All right, we'll be talking to our friend from Eagle Claw a little later, but right now we're saying hi to Dave Farrell at the workbench, who always has something great for us. So Dave, what knowledge are you blessing us with this week?
Well, keeping with the Eagle Claw thing, we're talking a lot about hooks. I got a lot of different hook shapes and sizes and different wire sizes to tell you, which ones to pick for doing what.
Sounds
I
good.
like it.
We're gonna
I like it.
get hooked on Dave at the workbench, I guess. All right, we're making our first cast of the week into the GARMIN Middle Coast region with Captain Bink Grimes, and he's on top of what's beneath. So Bink, go ahead and tell us what our weekend could look like.
We got our first taste of the surf this past week, and man, there were great speckled trout running in that first gut. There's tons of huge, large white shrimp, those 4 to 6 count shrimp along the beach, and those big trout are following those huge prawns and gorging on them. Early morning has been the best with the winds increasing, gradually. It makes for a bumpy drift, some of those shallow ballers, but we've been catching them. That's when we're heading to the jetties. We're tucking back those rocks. We're tossing live shrimp under a mid-coast popping cork. In Surfside and Freeport, man, guide Mike Siegel, he's been catching trout to 6 pounds in the surf and on live shrimp. The Saint's been holding true in Port O'Connor. Easy limits are coming with live bait and with soft plastic. Guy Lynn Smith said he's been enjoying a steady bite of trout to 24 inches on top waters and plastics in Port O. He's been working those back lakes as well. We've got high tides right now, and then our June tides are really good coming through the Pass Cavallo, and it's been really, really, really good early on top waters. East Bay green this past week, and some of the largest trout of the year were found. Trout to 9 pounds were caught, and a lot of 5 and 7 pounders were caught on Marilure Serpentines. Not to be outdone is West Bay. Live shrimp has done well in West Bay, as has Bass Assassins and Marilure Little Johns. Waders continue to do best in West Bay on Bass Assassins. Along Rockport, those top waters, those Berkeley Jaywalkers have been doing well, as the Texas Custom Corkies over sand and grass flats around Mud Island, Super Flats. And then when you get high tides down there, those fish on East Flats have really bit as well. Photo there is Tommy Alexander. He caught and released trout near Pascaval on soft plastics. Our fishery has produced a lot of trout lately, but we're still asking people to really respect it and only keep a few if you must. High tides, black drum have been really, really good on the incoming tide. Lots of drum were found this week around Shell Island, Twin Island, Oyster Lake. Live shrimp under mid-coast cork has been good with about a 2-foot leader. Palacios area near Coon Island has been great. Tres Palacios Bay, Turtle Bay, and then nearby Half Moon Reef have been awesome for black drum on live shrimp. And then there around Freeport, Bastrop, and Chocolate Bays are holding lots of black drum. Redfish, our tides have switched early in the morning. They're barreling out during the day. That's been good on the grassy shorelines of West Matagorda Bay. There's plenty of reds at all the jetties from Port O'Connor to Port Aransas to Freeport, and those big old redfish are out there. They're gobbling up those big 6 to 8 shrimp that we like to put on the barbecue pit. It's just going to get better throughout June and July, and we're looking forward to doing it. This past week, offshore, red snapper season open. It couldn't open better with 3 and 4 days of really tranquil waters. People have been getting their snapper to 20 pounds out there, but they're having to go a little bit farther than normal, 25 miles plus, because a lot of our freshwater runoff from our rivers has kind of stained up a lot of the Gulf. So those snapper are out there, in about 80 to 90 foot of water, in our offshore temperatures have been running 78 to 81 degrees. Kingfish are starting to show up as well. They're still a little far out compared to normal. Our June, it's been cold and calm and just hasn't been a normal June. It hasn't really heated up yet. So we're happy about that, because man, it gets hot in Texas, but it hadn't got there yet. So it's kind of affected our fishing that way. But there's been a lot of fish caught on the Garmin Middle Coast region so far. We ask that you please practice good stewardship of our bays and our oceans, and please protect that quality speckled trout fishery.
All right, bud, thank you so much. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the mirror lure hot spots for the Middle Coast region. He says trout are good on Bass Assassins while wading the sand and the grass near Pascavallo. The black drum are good near Coon Island on live shrimp as well.
All right, Rick. Well, Johnny Geis in the Upper Fresh region is getting you on top of your topwater game on Texoma and Fork. So, Johnny, let's hear it.
Hey, Rick and Brie. Well, we're going to start out with some stripers and big ones. This week's report was sent to me from Captains Bill and Chris Carey with the Striper Express Guide Service on Texoma. Fishing's real good up there at Texoma right now. It's located right there on the Texas and Oklahoma border, a big lake right on the Red River. The lake level is about 3 foot over normal, and the water temps are in the low 70s. They had a late spring like we all did, but what a May they had on Texoma. May is usually the best month for the topwater action. Bill said they blind casted big topwater plugs along the shallow banks and points, caught fish all day. The Magnum chuggers and spook type baits, the ploppers and the poppers, they're the most popular baits during this time. This May they had cloud cover and threatening rain for over 19 of the last 22 days, and where normally they get 1 to 1.5 hours of topwater action, that cloud cover let them throw topwaters for the whole charter this time. But June has arrived, and now the topwater action is going strong with stripers blowing up on the same topwater plugs. Sometimes they swat the plug so hard, Bill says, their tails that they cripple the bait and the plugs fly 3 foot in the air. It's pretty exciting fishing. As cool as the weather's been, the topwater action may last several more weeks. He's predicting it's going to be an outstanding topwater month. Texoma is in excellent shape. June should be another exciting fishing month for them up there on Texoma. Captain Bill says that the flaky white striper meat is excellent table fare and rates it right up there between the walleye and the crappie. The striper in the next picture will feed the whole family. Take a look at what Chris Carey catches with the Striper Express. What a beast on this topwater bait. How about the size of that one, Rick?
That's a nice one, bub.
Very happy about it. I would be too.
Yeah. Also, they've got big smallmouth up there. I thought I'd throw that picture in there too. Texoma is a great smallmouth lake, and you just might catch one of those while you're fishing for stripers.
Wow.
Hey, Rick, the Striper Express team's invited us up to Texoma. Captain Bill Carey wants to show you and Bree some great legendary Texoma fall action later in the year, so let's check into that.
All right.
All right, the next thing, the big bass on Lake Fork. Well, this 2021 Skeeter Owners Tournament's in the books. As usual, this event was a huge success. Had over 1,900 Skeeter owners, friends, and family that fished that event this last weekend. There were Skeeter owners from all over the United States who traveled to Lake Fork to catch a big bass and to win one of the brand new Skeeter boats given away. The fine folks from Skeeter, man, they do an outstanding job setting up a real good venue there at the Lake Fork Marina. And each hour, anglers bring in their legal fish to try and win one of the top 10 cash prizes for the largest bass of the hour. Overall tournament winner, Arlen Hochschild, caught a 9.82-pound bass that won him a brand new Skeeter FXR boat with a 250 Yamaha show engine. Tim McNeil, he caught the largest under the slot, that's under 16 inches, weighed 3.08, and that's a big under the slot, and he won the Yamaha Wolverine X4 side-by-side. Anglers caught a bass on just about all different kind of lures, but good many of them were weighed in on topwaters. And the drop shot and the Carolina rig were probably the most effective for the majority of the unders. Lake Fork usually takes a few days to settle back down after this big event, but I expect the big bass to be biting good on deep water structure the remainder of this month. In fact, just got off the water just a few minutes ago. We had 15 big bass today and had a 9.5 and chopped off a 10, so it's on. The deep water big bass schools are starting to show up, and they'll be feeding heavily on the bluegill and the shad. We'll be catching the big bass almost daily, and many of my customers catch their personal best here in June. The young man today caught his personal best 4 times, so it was a good day. The crappie, man, they continue to provide consistent action on the brush piles and standing timber, and it doesn't matter if you're using minnows or jigs or fish them both together. You just have to keep moving to find the better sized fish. We have so many small crappie showing up now. We've had several years of excellent spawns. Summertime's when the live scope shines, and you can easily find new schools of crappie almost all over the lake. June's one of the best fishing months here on Lake Fork, and come on out and get into some big fish action. Here's a picture of Arlen Hauschild with his winning bass at the Skeeter Owners Tournament. That's the size we've got on this pond.
Man, that's
the
a good
Bassmaster
fish.
Classic, man, we're headed over there later in the week. It'll kick off on Lake Ray Roberts, just north of Fort Worth. I think topwaters will play a big part in the win on this tournament this year. Professional anglers, they should catch a lot of big fish, and it'll be an exciting event. The Classic Outdoors Expo will be at the Will Rogers Memorial Coliseum, and our Texas Insider Fishing team will be there, and we hope to meet as many of our viewers. So hope to see you there. Y'all come out and catch some big ones.
All right, Johnny, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Upper Fresh region. He says Texoma. The stripers are hitting topwater plugs early on the windy points. Watch for the birds to give away the surface activity. Use swim baits to catch larger fish below. And then Lake Fork, the bass and crappie and sand bass are biting good at this time. Remember that the fish are moving to the deeper summer patterns as the water heats up.
Personal best.
4
times. Rick?
I know. That guy goes for it. Probably catches a 5, then a 6,
He's
then a
foaming
7.5,
at the
and now
mouth.
a 9.
Every picture. All right, the STARTRON Middle Fresh region is looking pretty fresh for the weekend, but our workbench guru Dave is looking pretty fresh for rigs and techniques.
I showered just for you.
Oh, I can smell it. Smells good over there.
Well, we're
Just
talking
me.
about hooks. Which hooks used on which baits?
That's important. We'll be
Yes,
back.
it is.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Bahio. Fresh eyes for a rich life. Garmin. Plot your paradise. Fibertex. Leaders in fiberglass fabrication and repair. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. Penn. Let the battle begin. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Your time on the water is precious. You return season after season to make unforgettable memories, fight a few fish, reconnect with friends, and recenter yourself. If you count on having this time, you need an outboard you can count on to power it. That's why boaters stay with Yamaha for the long run, for life. They know reliability starts here.
Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Kick your gas into gear with STARTRON.
For the Bay and beyond, team up with the best and rule the Bay in a Skeeter. proven with 20 consecutive NMMA Consumer Satisfaction Awards. And now, through June 21st, you can launch into your summer with sizzling rebates of up to $2,500. Versatility, control, performance, and design. The Skeeter Summer Sizzling Savings Event is happening now through June 21st. Visit your local dealer or online at SkeeterBoats.com. Skeeter, it's more than just a boat, it's a lifestyle.
Have you ever felt your heart pounding while feeling the power of a tarpon in the Florida Keys? Or experienced the changing colors of a mahi as you bring it on board? Whether it's in the Bahamas, the Florida Keys, Guatemala, or the Florida Everglades, Murphy's Law Sports Fishing has the ability to guide you to the fish of a lifetime. To book your trip today, call 305-246-0673 or go to murphyslawsportfishing.com. Well, it's time for Rigs and Techniques, and this is what Dave makes his money. So come on, money man.
Well, you know, there's thousands of different kinds of hooks and styles of hooks, and if you go to a big box store or something and you're looking at this wall of hooks and you're thinking, you know, what the heck hook am I going to use? You know, first off, you got to think about what you're catching, obviously, and you know, that's where you're going to start. But we're going to start here with just showing you what these different hooks are. We're going to start with a regular J hook right there. I just want to show you, if you're thinking in your head, what is a fish hook? You know, this is the J hook. You know, it's got a straight shank and the points, pointing straight alongside the shaft or the shank here.
Right.
The points pointing in the same direction towards the eye. And that's pretty much a traditional J hook. And we use those, sometimes we use them for bottom fishing. Sometimes if we use a really light wire J hook, we can use it for a wacky rig in the middle of a worm. A lot of times we'll use a straight J hook as a wacky rig on a really light wire. The next hook over here we have are circle hooks. And circle hooks come in two or three different styles as well. Probably more than that. They were made by the Polynesians. Some of the very first hooks made in the world were circle hooks made out of bone and wood and stuff in Polynesia. And the great thing, and they're mainly used on long lines and all that stuff, and they finally jumped to recreational fishing about 10 or 15 years ago. But the great thing about a circle hook is once something gets on there, it usually doesn't come off.
So what's the difference between these two, Dave?
Well, one has a slightly offset on it, and the other one is pretty straight. If the point is pointing directly down at the shaft, the shank here, if it's pointing straight down and it lies flat on a table, it's a non-offset hook. If you lay it down on a table and it's got a bend to it, right, and the point's not pointing straight at the shank, then it's a non-offset circle hook. And I'll be honest with you, you might as well use a J hook if you're going to use a non-offset circle hook, because although it will find the corner of the mouth more often than a regular J hook, it still has the tendency to get deep hooked. The next one we have is a kale hook over there. This is a big style of a kale. There's a smaller version right there if you want to show both of them. Now, kale hook, these hooks are great for trout fishing. I use them for bass fishing with live bait because they have such a huge gap. And when you're fishing for a fish like a bass or a grouper or even a flounder who likes to chew on stuff before they'll even inhale it, that's a great flounder hook as well. But what's great about the kale hook is got that huge gap, so you can put a big bait in there or even on the hook.
Right.
And what signifies a kale hook is that the point is pointing
at the
eye of the hook.
Yeah.
So it's more of a hook. If a circle hook is you don't really want to set the hook, a kale hook is one of those ones that you're probably better off holding it in your hand and setting the hook with it. So that's what you want to keep in mind when those.
Let's keep moving.
All right. We have a traditional worm hook right here. These are, I fish a lot with worms and soft baits, and this is, kind of went out of favor in a lot of places here, the traditional worm hook, but they work still just as good. They're really easy to rig. You just put the, little 1/8 of an inch piece of the worm on the tip, and you can bury the hook in the back of the worm. Still works great. It's very stealthy. Also, especially if you use it with a swim bait. Right. That hook disappears in a swim bait, and my buddy Sparky, Mark Bedzinski, he crushes me all the time. I use a nice wide gap. I've went to the wide gap. But he'll use that little worm hook there in a green bait just like that and crush it. They just work really well. You got some wide gaps there.
You're gonna run out of time there,
so
Davey.
we'll try that one over there. We got these. This is the traditional wide gap worm hook that I was talking about, and that's
There's
the one I like to use.
A variety of different stuff.
Variety of different ones, and also they also have some nice flipping hooks as well. If you're using a flipping hook, you want something that's really stout because you're punching into weeds and lily pads, and you got to have something to pull them out. But just pay attention to the wire and the shape a little bit when you're picking your hook.
That's right. Good advice.
So many hooks, so little time, right? We need a part 2 session.
Yep.
All right, we're headed into the STARTRON Middle Fresh region with Matt Loescher, who will have you grinning from ear to ear if you're fishing Toledo Bend, Sam Rayburn, and Lake Athens this weekend. So Matt, make us happy.
All right, Brie, I'm going to do it. I got a great report on the white bass and the hybrids this week. I'm going to kick it off with that because they've just been putting smiles on a lot of anglers' faces this week, particularly on Toledo Bend and many of the other lakes in the STARTRON Middle Fresh region. A lot of moving water, thanks to all the recent rains that we've had, has really got them going for us. Here at Toledo, we're catching them 20 to 30 foot deep on points and flats on the main lake, especially in the mid-lake area. Now, the bite is really aggressive when you get on a school of these whites and you get them fired up. It's about the most catching type of fishing you'll ever experience. It's really catching, not fishing, when you're on these whites. It's just a blast. We're catching them, like I said, about mid-lake right now, and we're using minnows picked up off the bottom and then jigging spoons, jig vertically off the bottom, just straight down below the boat to catch them as well. And it's just been great. Now, Mr. Thurman Selman with Bass Specialty tells me that they're whacking the whites and the hybrids on Richland Chambers as well. Same deal, a lot of moving water, and they're just fired up. He says look for them there on the main lake also, and he's finding them on the flats and the humps. And I've got a photo here for you to kind of give you an example of what we've been catching. I got some ladies there with a whole table full of those white bass, and man, that day we had a weather delay, and I think we only got about 2 hours of fishing in, and we caught all that in just a couple of hours, including boat riding time. So it was just a blast, a lot of fun there. Now, moving over to the crappie, they've been treating us really good on Toledo Bend as well. The past couple of weeks, we've seen a big improvement, lake-wide, really, in the bite and in the size of the schools of fish that we're seeing. When you look into them with that GARMIN live scope right now, it's like the stuff dreams are made of. It's just really awesome to watch those crappie attacking those baits, and it's been a lot of fun. And we're catching them in about 15 out to 28 foot of water, and the fish are as deep as 22. A lot of them are still hanging close to the bottom due to all that current that we've been having moving through the lake, but some of them are also ganging up in the tops of the trees. The difference just depends on what area of the lake you're fishing and how strong the current is in that part of the lake, because it does vary even in close proximity. Just to utilize your electronics and kind of use some trial and error to figure out how you need to do it on the spot you're fishing. Now, the Panfish Assassin jigs are still excellent for catching those big slabs right now. I'm using a 16th ounce jig head almost exclusively right now. That weight's been working good for me. And I'm liking that Mama's 14 karat color. The way the color of the water is now, that color has been really good for me. And of course, live minnows are working good as well. I got another photo here for you on the crappie of some nice folks from Thibodaux, Louisiana, with a big table full of crappie we caught this week. Had a really good trip with those folks. It was a great time.
Nice.
And then lastly, we're going to touch on the bass, last but not least, of course. And I'm going to hit on a couple of lakes in the northern end of my region. Richland Chambers, first off, Mr. Thurman Selman with Bass Specialty Guide Service up there. He tells me that the water temperature on Richland Chambers is still hanging in the mid-70s, and the water's still rising from all this rain. It's just been crazy how much rain we've been getting. And he's catching the bass there around docks with a shaky head. He's putting a finesse worm on it to catch them. And he also said that he's catching some on a Carolina rig out in the deeper water. He put an emphasis, though, on fishing slow right now at Chambers. And if you get bit, he said, work that area over really thoroughly. So just kind of take your time there. And Mr. Thurman has also been fishing on Lake Athens some lately, which is a really cool little lake. It's kind of a smaller lake. And he said the fishing has been really good there for him in the grass. He said there's an abundance of hydrilla, coontail, and eelgrass in that lake. right now, and spinner baits, bladed jigs, wacky worms, Carolina rigs, just all kinds of stuff has been working for him. So the bite sounds like it's pretty good there. He encourages weekday fishing on that lake because it is a smaller impoundment that gets a bit crowded on the weekends. And so if you'd like to take a trip, give him a call. Get on those Lake Athens fish. Mr. Thurman will take care of you. I'm going to give his phone number real quick in case you want to give him a call. His number is 972-345-9370. And I'm going to leave you with a photo of one of Mr. Thurman's clients with one of those dark green grass bass.
All right, thank you so much, Matt. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Middle Fresh region. Matt says the white bass and hybrids are hot on Toledo Bend and Richland Chambers. The crappie are good on Toledo Bend using panfish, assassin jigs. The bass are biting at Lake Athens in the grass as well as Richland Chambers around the dock. Man, he's got it going on everywhere.
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 All right, Rick, I say it every week. I can't believe you're letting this baby go behind me. But here's your weekly reminder that if you would like a chance to win this exact beautiful Chevy 3100 hot rod, all you got to do is go to ccaflorida.org/hot rod to get your raffle tickets, and that'll be through the end of September.
All you got to do is just buy a ticket.
All you got to do, and then you're in the running.
That's it.
I could see myself in that truck, running that. All right, the Fish Bites Upper Coast and ALVEY Lower Coast regions are up next. Plus, we are talking to our friend from Eagle Claw, so stay hooked, and we'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. ALVEY Reels, a better way to fish. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Penn, let the battle begin.
The Yamaha VMAX V6 SHO continues to deliver the level of performance that pro bass and multi-species anglers demand. Underneath a bold and aggressive new look, an upgraded charging system with 40% more charging power meets the amped-up demand for today's advanced electronics. The VMAX SHO, raw power, reliability, and exhilarating performance for every angler who loves the sport enough to invest in the best. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. We are the Fish Bites Nation, and this is your invitation. So grab some fish bites and get busy casting, because you can't join the nation without doing the catching. Ask for Fish Bites or Fish Bites Fight Club lures, or visit fishbites.com.
Today's Power Pole tip is about how I really love how the charge really helps me extend my day of fishing. Now let me explain. When we're running up and down the beach chasing schools of tarpon, or maybe on a spot lock in a channel situation, we're really using a lot of voltage out of our trolling motors. Now, when I hook a fish and I simply jump down and turn that switch and start the big motor, now I immediately start replenishing my trolling motor battery voltage. That's what the charge does. I also have the ability to monitor exactly what's going on with those batteries. And in Florida, when we have 14-hour days, this could really extend your whole day of fishing. So keep in mind that whenever you're fishing and you need to recharge your trolling motor system, all you have to do is simply turn the key on, and now you have the ability to recharge your trolling motor system. If you have any questions, you can go to powerpole.com, and that's today's Power Pole tip. It's all about the charge, guys. Don't forget it. As you can see, joining me here at the workbench, we have Mike from Eagle Claw. And Mike, you know, one of the things that's so neat is that Eagle Claw is involved in everything that we're doing with RM Media, Sportsman's Adventures, and both the Florida and the Texas Insider Fisher Reports. Why is it so important for Eagle Claw to talk to our viewers?
Yeah, we're here to, definitely come in and say thanks to you for all the support, and then also say thanks to all your viewers for the support. Great sales in the last couple of years in fishing. Fishing's growing. So yeah, just out here to say thanks.
So, when you go to a big store, Academy, Sports in Texas, or any of the big box stores, or even the mom and pops, there's so many different choices. So how do we know? Because we see silver hooks, we see curved hooks, J hooks, as Dave was talking about earlier. But let's talk a little bit about the materials that the hooks are made out of.
Sure. Again, Eagle Claw is made right here in the United States, right in Denver, Colorado, by American manufacturers. We source all of our hooks with American steel as well. But then there's definitely lots of different colors, shapes, and things out there. You've selected a couple of good ones here.
So let's talk a little bit about this silver one. What makes a silver hook like this?
Sure, so that's our highest corrosion rated. It's called Sea Guard. So if you're out there fishing once a month and you come back into your tackle box, you're not going to come back in there and have a bunch of rust on it. So very corrosion resistant.
So then I look at this 8.0 here. It looks pretty small for an 8.0, but I love it.
Yeah, so selected one of our most popular billfish hooks. Your guys down in Guatemala use that. That's our #1 tournament billfish hook. We sell tons of them down there.
All right, and then third, a few years ago, we introduced the Trocar brand at Eagle Claw. Tell us a little bit about
Trocar we came out with a few years ago. That's our highest level hook. So tournament guys, we put all the little touches on there. 3-sided point, it's the sharpest hook in the world, all the way down to the welded eye. You're not gonna get a nick in your line with that welded eye on there.
So American made, where can we go to buy this, find out more information?
Sure, all your big box stores, Academy, Walmart, Bass Pro Shop, down to your mom and pop shops. Get more information at eagleclaw.com.
Guys, with American made, American shipped company, you guys got to certainly support that. 8,000 SKUs all under the Eagle Claw brand.
That's right.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Bree, where are we going next?
All right, well, the coast is clear in the Fish Bites Upper Coast region, and Captain Carl Weston is on the line to get you excited about your weekend. So, Carl, let's hear the good news.
Well, guys, we had an amazing weather window this past week. It was good to see with all the rain we'd had. And as we head into June in the Upper Coast, we're having some of our largest trout here. They're schooling in the deep water potholes and along the jetties. Our current temp is about 80 degrees inshore. And with those waters warming up, we've seen a lot more bait fish in the area, bigger schools. Now, this time of year, finger, mullet, and live shrimp are going to be your best natural baits. We just touched on the past few weeks. If you look out for seagulls, the pelicans diving on bait, oil slicks early in the morning, this will guide you right to those big bait schools. Now, if you're using artificial, let me tell you about the little Chopo 90. I know I've talked about it a few times this year. It's still the reigning champ for me in bone color. You just can't beat this little lure. It seems to catch everything. I've even caught myself on it a few times. But we got a pick today here. Dan, a good friend of ours that came out from California, caught a really pretty trout right there.
Nice. All right, where are we going next, bub? Black drums?
Well, black drum. Moving on to, this is a local favorite of our inshore anglers. The black drum bite has been really consistent in the past week in the Upper Coast. These fish are a little harder to target, and they seem to feed back in the grass flats more most days. These guys love to feed on crabs and shrimp, so natural bait is going to be your go-to for these fish. Now, in the past few days, we found some of them around some deep water holes just like the trout and along the shoreline. And fishing in the open water, second to crab, I would say a cut pogie, some large dead shrimp. Now, black drum search for food using their sense of smell a lot more than their sight, Rick, so it's never a bad tactic to let your bait sit out in the sun a little bit to achieve that lovely ripened scent. Just not too much. You don't want it to rot. These guys get pretty large in our area. So when I rig, I use 30 to 40 pound test diamond leader with your choice of Eagle Claw hook. And in my opinion, black drum is not great table fare, so I usually release them. And we have a picture today of Uncle Jody and JT with a pretty black drum.
Nice. All right, it's time to go offshore, man.
All right, we've been talking about snapper for a couple of weeks because everybody, they want to put some in the freezer. So pushing through, we had an amazing few days offshore. And today we're going to talk about a lane snapper, which is not as common as a red snapper, just as good to eat, and they're a little harder to find. Now, they look just like a red snapper with stripes that run horizontal from the nose all the way to the tail. And we seem to catch more of them on artificial reefs. And I think the only conclusion I've come to is that they like places to hide from the other larger fish. So when you have the reef balls, or say they've cut down a rig, there's a lot of little areas for these guys to hide, and it seems like we catch a lot more of them. And like we said, they don't get very big. I think our state record is like 8 pounds. And when you're rigging with these guys, I would rig just a regular snapper rig, except downsize your hook to about a 5.0 and use cut squid. It seems to be their food of choice. And we got a picture. Tosh caught a nice one here last week.
Dang, I gonna make CASA snapper queen there. Not king, only queen. All right, what else?
Well, we're going right to kingfish.
All right.
Stay with that theme of this great weather we've had this week, and I can't say that enough. We've been hammered with so much rain that the sunshine for 4 days, we don't know how to act. But we've been catching kingfish for me in our area in the upper coast. Say from 10 miles out, they're pretty thick, all the way out to 60. These fish have been really easy for us to catch around structure. Now, there are a ton of ways to target kingfish, but I'd like to touch on a few today that are my favorites, like slow troll and live bait. I'll rig 2 4-aught eagle claw trebles tied about 6 inches apart. Another 6-inch up, I'll twist on a diamond 50-pound barrel swivel. So this tactic around structure is definitely my favorite and most successful. There are other effective methods, like you can rig a single hook, on a 12 to 18-inch wire leader, tip it with a cigar minnow, and just free line it, drift over structure. It won't last long these days with this warming temperature because these fish will be on it quick, and just watch out for the sharp teeth guys, hence the wire leader. Be safe and have fun. And a good friend of mine, Tony, caught one here. He got a little picture. That is a good eating size, about 8 or 10 pounds, right?
All right, man, thank you so much. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the R&R tackle hotspots from the Upper Coast region. Hey, Carl says, inshore, you wanna go trout fishing in the jetties on the incoming tide, throw the light colored topwater lures such as the Berkeley, Chapo, and Bone in the 90 size, and then offshore, the lane snappers, the fish in the artificial reefs and 100 to 125 foot depths. Rig that with a 5.0 Trocar circle hook for those squid and you'll catch them.
All right, guys, well, you want to catch a redfish, trout, red snapper, kingfish, or jack crevalle this weekend? Yeah, I do. Well, you can catch all of them in the ALVEY Reels Lower Coast region with the guidance of Captain Chad Kinney. So, Chad, let's hear it.
Or catch anything that swims that has a tail.
There you go. I'll take it.
The weather's looking great this weekend. I know people are talking about it, but I'm fired up. It's actually the best weekend I think we've had coming up as far as offshore the seas. It'll really help the bay fishing out also with the water clarity. We've been having some high winds lately, but it's going to be really good. So the redfish action, which will help this weekend if you guys get out there, the lower coast jetties, Port Aransas, Port Mansfield, South Padre, the redfish have been congregating around those lower coasts on the jetties there. Trout fishing has been pretty good up in the land cut. Definitely using live bait there, the croaker, and some soft plastics, also like a sea shad, saltwater assassin up in the land cut there between Corpus and Mansfield. But starting with the redfish, like I said, definitely picked up around lower coast jetties. The key thing here is look for really good water conditions, weather, which means calmer winds and currents, which we're going to be having. So if you guys are free, get out there this weekend and do it. Look at your spots when the currents are kind of changing. You don't want the current to be flying in or out. If you get it right when it kind of starts switching, I think that's when the bite really goes off. Fish are washouts, and wherever you see some bait movement traveling, these fish that bait and fish will follow it up and down the eddies and the jetties. And when they hit a feeding period, they're going to feed extremely heavy. And when it's over, it's done. I mean, if you get a really solid bite for an hour and all of a sudden it shuts off for 20, 30, 40 minutes, we'll pack it up and do something different. Live croaker's working really good. Mullet, menhaden. Also, you can use a fish bite on the Carolina rig. When fishing these washouts and the eddies along the jetties, it's great prepared with the proper tackle. I've been using them for well over a year now. Like when I get up to the jetty area, I like using the ALVEY 100, so kind of like a medium-sized spinning reel. Combine that with like a 6'9" medium action rod. Spool it up with diamond braid. 30 pounds is plenty for this stuff. And the main line, use a Memory leader, the fluorocarbon 40-60 pound tie to that 30-pound braid. I like attaching that to a 5 to 7 knot, probably more like a 7-knot Eagle Claw hook for the bait's gonna be a little bit bigger. Like, so be patient, wait for the current changes. You guys have a blast working those when those fish come through there. The trout fishing's, it's been they've been on the move everywhere, and it makes it really tough for the fishing, but they've been consistent pretty much into the land cut. With all this fresh water, I think it's pushing up there. There's a little more salinity up there in that land cut there. Live croaker's working really good, free line, right off the drop-offs, the grass lines, and those guts there in the land cut. The conditions are pretty good. If you guys want to get out and wade fish, definitely wade fish along the banks there, the grass beds, same area, the oil guts. So a Top Dog Junior mirror lure right there along the edges and grass lines, and wait for some blow-ups. That's always a lot of fun when the conditions are good. And just try the guts in the bank, same thing for a saltwater assassin magic grass, like using that magic grass sea shaft, works the edges of those, works really well. Got a good picture here. You can see some good water clarity, trout green water. We released a nice 25-inch trout there. So moving to the offshore, it's been a federal waters course is open, and it's been on fire. It always is like that normally. Got some good weather conditions, so it's going to happen. Kingfish, Jack Crevalle are all around up close in the structure, easy access to get to. So the federal fishing, like I said, it's been off the hook. You can target your favorite structure, wreck, platform. We got a short season normally on these, recreational angling and stuff like that. We'll go to August here, so those fish are really hungry from what I've been seeing. You can use an Eagle Claw trocar jig. I love using that. Been going down to actually like a 1 ounce, but 1 ounce to 3 ounce. Tip it with fish bite, drop it through the water column, and use your Garmin sounder to see where those fish are at. Right now, they've been kind of holding right in the middle. So if you're fishing 150, 60, 70 foot down, you'll start bringing them up to that area. It makes for a great jig bite. And what happens also when they're up in that middle column, they don't get embolized, they don't get the bends or anything else like that. So if you release a few, it's not going to hurt anything. And a good way to do, the tip on that is count to 8-10 seconds, drop it down, you get bites, keep doing it. If not, drop it a few more seconds, you'll find out where they're at. Got a picture of a really good federal red snapper on that one there.
Whoa.
Holy, Chad.
Yeah, moving the king, some monsters there. So moving the kingfish, they've been increasing in numbers every week. Also some Jack Crevalle, so really going to look for a lot of fun for some action, sports, fights for the kids, family, whomever, your buddies. They're holding really good around structure, platforms, even the field ships right there out of South Padre. There's a good number of them on the bait balls, like 2 to 4 miles offshore. Everything's in reach, right in the color changes. So troll some mirror lure divers, rigged up on wire with a 10 torque 30 works perfect for this stuff. Put some mono on it and just troll around and have a blast, have fun. There's a picture of a Jack Crevalle that was released.
All right, thank you so much, Chad. Good pictures this week. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport boats hotspots from the lower coast region. Chad says inshore, lower coast jetties, when calmer conditions prevail, are holding good numbers of redfish use. Slip sinker rig with your favorite live bait on the Eagle Claw 5.0 laser sharp circle hook, and then offshore, the federal snapper season is in full effect and plenty of action out there with kingfish and Jack Crevalles working best in the bait balls.
All right, coming up next, we're checking in with our lower fresh region and headed to the workbench to see what new products Dave has for us. Dave, Father's Day.
Yeah, got some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Little stuff to put on your boat and keep your lures in shape. Keep them in one spot. Keep them out of
nice. That's perfect. I like it. It's a good gift. Would you like that, Rick?
I do like it. As a matter of fact, I might fit.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Ameritrail. Load, launch, relax. Fenwick. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a mirror lure. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. R&R Tackle. From our tackle box to yours. Berkeley. Your fish, our science. And STARTRON. Cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
the only reel with over 100 years of heritage. ALVEY sidecast reels allow you to cast over 150 yards with up to 900 yards of capacity. ALVEY's state-of-the-art drag and 22-inch retrieve rate per wine is perfect for any surf challenge. ALVEY reels are manufactured to best practice standards and are in fact so robust that the ALVEY also comes with a 10-year salt and sand warranty. For more information, go to alveus.com.
New products, Father's Day special. We got to start thinking about it, Dave.
Yeah,
so what do we want for Father's Day?
Somebody might remember I'm their dad. We'll find out. Anyway, we got the Tackle Titan foam lure holder right there. And this is a great thing to have on your boat, you know, an offshore boat or an inshore boat, either one. You know, you can put this thing up on in a spot and hang your lures and your rigs from it. You know,
It's got this adhesive on the back.
Exactly, that double-sided tape now, which is—incredible. It's not like the double-sided tape we grew up with. This stuff, you put it on there, it won't come off. They come in the 18 by 3 by 1 inch size, which is that one right there, and they also come in the smaller size.
Yeah, smaller size.
9 by 3 by 1 as well. And like I said, you could figure out where to put those things anywhere, and you know, keep all your stuff out of people's legs and arms and stuff when they're walking by. You know, it's a good thing to have.
So where do we find this?
thmarine.com.
All right.
It's also that foam is reversible, so you know if you wear out one side, you just flip it around and
slide it
go
out,
again.
Go again.
All right.
I like it.
What we had on there, what was sticking on there, was something called a Berkeley Chapo. I think that's the 120. Yeah, that's
this
the big
is the
one.
120.
Yeah, that's the big one, and it's it makes a ruckus. It's a top water plug. You know, you throw this thing out in shallow water around any kind of structure, and just reel it back to you. Blop, 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 blop. It's going to make a sound like a frog coming at you or a wounded bait fish. They come in 10 different colors from 3.5 inches up to, I think that's a 4.5 inches there, almost 5 inches. And, you know, it's got really nice, big, strong hooks on it. You know, it's going to have to, because the things that are going to eat that's going to be a big thing.
You know, I want to challenge our viewers. If you guys, when you catch these, catch a fish on the Chapo, send us a picture as well as how you like to work it.
Yeah.
And if you do that, I'll send you guys something really nice. I'd like to know the different cadence. Do they pop it and gurgle it? Do they straight reel it? How do they like to fish
I'd imagine
it?
I'd do it both ways eventually.
Yeah.
So anyway, next we got some of these kale hooks we were talking about earlier. You know, that's the L141 kale hook, the laser sharp version. It's great for, like I said, spotted sea trout. It usually finds the corner of the mouth. Flounder, we call it a croaker hook. That's what we used to call them when we were kids. They'll catch just about everything. They're good for everything. Like I said, it's really good if you're using a big chunk of bait or even a big live bait, because it's got that big wide gap. Comes in 15 different sizes from a 1 to a 10-aught. So, you know, anything that you're chasing, you can find a hook that'll fit it. That's the Eagle Claw TK9. That's the inshore kale. Again, it's got the triple-sided hook point because it's a trocar. It goes in 50% easier than most other needle points and everything else. It's an elite-grade hook, 50% easier penetration, like I said. EagleClaw.com.
Nice.
Go get one of those.
And
last but not least, we've got the Starbright Boat Guard, which is it's ultimate speed detailer. If you want to come by and hit some spots that are starting to fade in between waxings, this is a great product for that. Like I said, extends the time between the waxes, removes all the dirt and the grind. You just spray it on, wipe it off, and it'll leave a nice little finish on there as well to protect things, keep things protected.
EagleClaw.com is Starbright.com. And you know what? I recommend it because that truck over there, when I put it in the studio, I actually detailed it with the Boat Guard.
Yeah, I got you.
All right, Brie, looks like we need to detail you a little bit, so I'm coming with the goods, baby.
All right, Lake Amistad is where you want to be this weekend in the Lower Frost region, but Lake Decker, Inks, Marble Falls, Fayette County, Somerville, and Choke Canyon will do just as well, too. Tell us the details, Matt.
All right, let's get this South Texas region going. Going to start out with Lake Amistad. I've been there for about 10 days doing 2 separate kids camps. It's been a blast. Amistad's on fire right now.
you can catch them a ton of different ways. There's a good topwater bite early, either on windy rock points and shores or over the shallow hydrilla. The Berkeley Chapo has been a great choice this week. My favorite retrieve is throw it and I steady reel it with just an occasional speed hit of the handle. That just causes it to flutter, to spit just a little extra. That way you can cover a ton of water. Later on, I'm throwing a drop shot out on the grass, on the deeper hydrilla, and also on the rock bluffs. The fish are relating to both grass and rock. Catch a ton of fish that way. The biggest fish we caught this week were all caught on swim baits, on a underspin, a fish head underspin, thrown on the outside edge of the grass in that 15 to 17 foot range. Was really a fun week up there with lots of numbers. Brian Cotter sent me reports from the lake and from the Austin area. Lake Decker's fishing really well. They start in the discharge. Those fish are schooling in the discharge early in the morning. Throw small straight tail swim baits and little bitty topwaters that imitates the small bait they're feeding on. When that dies, follow the current out on the main lake, and they're schooling out there also to repeat the same process with the swim bait. If you don't get bit, just let it fall through the surface activity and want to pick it up on the way down. If you want to try something different, get out in that 15 to 20 foot of water with a big crankbait. Throw it on the ledges out there. That's probably the best way to catch a big one. Inks Lake is also fishing very well. Catch some nice ones around the docks and the rocks early with a frog or a square bill crankbait. Later in the day, you want to move up and work the laydowns or the reed patches with a Texas rig or a wacky rigged worm. Lake Marble Falls also has a good frog bite going on. You can go all the way up the lake and throw the frog around the shallow rocks, any type of cover you find in the water. That's a great place to throw it. Later on, if you want to move out and throw a jig on the ledges in that 12 to 25 foot of water, catch some big ones. There's also been some fish caught skipping jigs under the docks. Greg Boyd sent me a report from Fayette County. It's been a little off this week. The rising water and storms and stuff have scattered the fish. The deep schools have been less affected, so get out on the main lake points with a heavy shaky head or a Carolina rig. Throw you a green pumpkin or a red bug soft plastic stick bait. That's the best way to get bit. Lake Somerville, it's at the 4.5 foot high mark from all the rain. If we get much more rain at all, the Corps will shut down Somerville, but hopefully it'll stay open. The bass are active early in the mornings on top waters and either walking baits or poppers around the rocky banks and move out to the deeper brush piles later on. Texas rig and small brush jigs have been best. Mike Bates sent a report for Choke Canyon. Choke Canyon's up in a 6 to 8 foot range. It's come up, still low, but the rising, we need that rain and rising water to get her back up in good shape. It has scattered the bass some, though. They're in from 2 to 20 feet right now. His suggestion is to pick, if you like to fish shallow, and cover a ton of water, throwing moving baits on the inside edge of the hydrilla. If you prefer to fish deep, get out in that 15 to 20 foot of water with a big crankbait or a Carolina rig and concentrate on those fish. But once again, you just need to cover a ton of water over there, pick your poison, do what you like, and you're going to catch quite a few fish. Got a picture there, one of the kids from camp this week. Cooper has a huge smile on his face from catching that giant bass at Lake Amistad.
Oh,
you wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't wipe that smile off my face either, bub. What else you got for us this week?
We got the crappie down at Falcon. They've been extremely cooperative. Get you an 1/8 ounce jig, drop it into man-made brush piles in that 15 to 20 foot of water. Catch you. Limits are very common right now. It's a fun way to break up your day, and if that's your target, just do it all day long.
All right, Matt. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad to hear you guys are spreading the love with all the kids and those kid camps. Let us know how we can be involved in that next year, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Fiber Tech hotspots. Lake Amistad. The bass are biting extremely well early in the morning on topwater. Bite is good on ploppers style baits, and then on the windy rocks and over the shallow hydrilla. And then Later, you want to throw drop shots and swim baits over the hydrilla for amazing numbers and maybe a few good ones.
Well,
it only takes one good one to make Ricky Dicky happy.
That kid should just stop fishing. Just kidding, he
Right?
shouldn't, but that was a big fish.
That was a giant.
I was like, my jaw was right here on the workbench.
You gotta love it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, Dave got a good one too. Just
I
show me a
saw that.
picture.
That's a good one right around the corner from your house. 7.5 pounder.
My backyard.
In your backyard? That's a backyard bass right there?
Backyard bass, yeah.
That's a bass. That's like a BB. Not to be mistaken for the baby.
Baby. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week right here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Go out and catch the big ones this weekend.